Hello, everyone,
Okay.
and welcome to the Conscious Health Podcast with my co-host, David Ortega. And then today we have a special guest today. We have Lily Anderson Naira. And today our episode is called Finding Anchor, which is all about nurturing your soul in times of turmoil. So it's come at a very timely time. So here's a quick introduction to Lily, and then I'll get her to tell us a little bit more about her journey, and we'll be off to the races. So Lily began her life in the Peruvian desert, where she first experienced the raw, undeniable truth that all of life is connected. And this realization became the bedrock of her being and was further deepened by her journey as a mother. So after moving to England with her son, she decided herself to understand the human experience, earning degrees in social work and then specializing in mental health. And Lily's passion for connection, healing, and compassion led her to become a psychodynamic counselor and a hypnotherapist, as well as a certified Kundalini and Hatha yoga trainer. She also founded a Peruvian organization dedicated to raising awareness about plastics in the oceans. She now lives in Edinburgh, Scotland, and Lily's life and work are a powerful reflection of the belief that true healing extends beyond the individual, encompassing our families, our communities, and the world that we all share. So that's absolutely beautiful. What an incredible journey you've been on. Can you tell us about this whole interconnection and this discovery, that everything is in life is connected?
Where do you want me to start, Natasha?
Oh,
Thank
wherever.
you. Thank you for that really good introduction. And thank you, David and Natasha, for inviting me along to your wonderful podcast. It's my honor. Thank you. So, yes, where to begin really talking about that interconnectedness, the interconnection of life. It's, do you want me to start there, Natasha? Or do
Yes,
you
please.
want me to?
Yes, please.
Well,
Yes,
it just a quick interconnection. I guess I can't really pinpoint one experience as such, other than I've always been I've always felt part of nature. To the that at school, my friends from school would tease me about it, and even, for example, I remember once in one class, I think it was in psychology probably, the teacher said, for some reason, I can't remember why, said anyone in the class can hear anything outside the classroom. And anybody said, oh, no. And I said, yes, I can hear this and that, the birds singing and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, my friends from school, they haven't forgotten, and they still tease me about that. Although I think it's a good thing to notice, really, the bird singing. So, but now, of course, and also things like my grandparents, I suppose, also taught me with their way of life that we are interconnected. And for example, my grandmother used to be friends with a bird. The bird used to come into the house and stay around, fly around, and she used to talk to this bird. It was her little friend. And then the bird would come in and, in and out whenever. So, and also was really fortunate, very truly fortunate that I grew up in nature, part of nature. And all of that, particularly the growing up within nature, has been a real has been really, really part of my growing up. As part of my cells, I could say. It's part of me in a deep way. And of course, now with science as it has developed, where the cosmos sciences, the astronomy and physics and so on, they now know, that now we are, in effect, we are part of the stars, because our cells, in fact, have the same elements that planets, etc., have: carbon, everything that we have in our molecules, they have it as well. And that is just one way, of seeing it. And there are more subtle ways, energetically as well, to understand this belonging. And with regards to interconnectedness, to see how the universe, has developed throughout these millions and trillions of years, how it's all interconnected. If you can see, galaxies, they are a community. Galaxies, solar systems, etc., they are a community. We are meant to be interconnected.
Yeah.
I'll leave it that. I could go more into that, but
It is so amazing that you are reflecting on that interconnectedness, and you mentioned the stars and the universe, because before we connected, we had some minutes to talk, Natasha and I, that I'm going deep into the philosophy that is called Gene Keys, and this philosophy integrates this aspect of the universe that defines you in terms of when you were born, and the alignment of the planets, the alignment of the stars, and the purpose that you are living here, that is connected also to your ancestral lineage, and that is connected with the people around you. So this is just amazing, the synchronicity, because it is not a coincidence. It's the synchronicity we have created to mention this. And one question, or one thing that for me gives me this curiosity to find out, is what are the ways that you have developed over your life to be in stillness, to connect with this contemplative way of being, where you can perceive the sounds of the birds, when you can perceive more things about nature, and when you feel that connection. Because I think part of the connection that we have with other people is that we become still.
Yes, brilliant. Excellent, really, what you're saying, David, as well, because you say, so all we are meant to be in union, in community kind of thing. And something is happening in the planet at the moment, isn't there? Where we are not connected. And this connection has been happening for a long time. And now it's coming, it's coming to the crest. We are going towards the crest of it, I feel. That kind of disconnection. So, and that's where I suppose people psychotherapists, etc., would talk about trauma, how that disconnection at a world level, nation level, community, family, that disconnection is causing, and at the same time is caused by trauma. So that disconnection, which in my view, has been coming from, many, many years with capitalism, with the materialism, where we look at, we want to be more individualistic. We want the material things, buy this, buy that, and we lose the connection even with our own selves. So is that disconnection with our own selves also. So that has caused a trauma, and that disconnection, to the point where many people think that's normal. It's normal to live with wars. It's normal to kill. It's normal to decimate a country, a nation. It's normal to want to kill them just because you want their land, or because you believe that, somebody said that belongs to you, or whatever. It's normal. Or it's normal to have, crime. It's not normal. It's not normal to speak badly of people. It's not normal either. It's not normal to live in conflict. But we think those things because we are in trauma. And it's like, when you live in trauma, you don't see it. It's like somebody said, a metaphor. I can't remember the details, but basically, you just, I can't remember. So I won't say the metaphor because I can't remember it very well. But basically, you are in this place, but you can't see that where you are is wrong because you are there. So you can't see the wood for the trees, sort of thing. Is that the right expression? Yeah.
Absolutely, it is the right expression.
Yes. So what is turmoil? What is turmoil? Because we are talking about, turmoil and how to finding anchor, nurturing your soul in times of turmoil. So what does turmoil mean? I would say it means living in this trauma, in these traumatic times. That for me is turmoil, can't think clearly, can't see clearly. And what is finding the anchor is finding anchor through certain practices that are going to nurture your soul. And what is your soul? We could ask as well. What is your soul? I mean, yes, either of you might like to talk about that, perhaps. Would you like me to?
No, I want to unpack a little bit of the things that you said, because it's so incredible. Because looking at I'm actually doing a talk tomorrow at the Theosophical Society around cosmogenius and how we're also interconnectedness, and and how the what's happening on a macro level is happening on a micro level, being us the micro level as well of what's that interconnectedness. But I was looking at it, and it's the beautiful thing you mentioned, kind of like the birds. It's almost like the birds wake up the trees. The trees give us the gift of oxygen. We give back by giving the carbon monoxide as we exhale. So it's almost kind of like as we're exhaling, they're inhaling. As they exhale, we inhale. So it's one of those things of this beautiful gift of like nature that we have that we've completely forgotten about. And I think, Lily, you were teased because you remember who you are. You remember that this interconnectedness of nature and how important it is. And you're right in the sense that we've become so disconnected. And recently, I was in Colombia, and it was we were many indigenous elders got together to talk about. There's a prophecy that's come, which is the eagle and the condor. And when I started diving deep into it spiritually, it really is the disconnection of the eagle being the mind and the heart being the condor. And you're so right. We're so disconnected from our bodies. We're disconnected our minds. We're disconnected from nature. We're disconnected from our emotions. So many of us can't. We disconnected from so many aspects of our lives. And I think that is also, like you say, it is trauma based. And I think COVID helped us with that as well, in a sense where it forced you to go within. It forced you to sit still. It forced you to stop looking outside of yourself for a little bit in that sense. But I think that turmoil that this earth is in at the moment is also because of a change of a cycle right now in so many different ways, and this is more of a futuristic aspect of it. But I think it's almost kind of like, I feel it's almost like a calm before the storm, where everything is so disconnected that it will force us into finding that balance in one way or another. But we have to look through our traumas. I think you're absolutely right in that sense. And if we connect back at looking at the soul, what is the soul's journey throughout this lifetime, really? And I was speaking to a friend of mine, and I was speaking to my daughter about it because she's learning psychology, and she was talking about parenting styles. And I was saying to her, yeah, we spent probably the first quarter of our life gaining trauma, gaining the conditioning of our parents, gaining all the rest of these, to then live it out for the next quarter, to then spend the next quarter healing it, to then spending the last quarter actually living a freedom of not having these jackets and this heaviness that we get given when we're younger. But that is the experience a lot of the times that the soul has come to journey through. And it's, how do we approach it? How do we really face it instead of deny it or hide from it? What are the tools that we anchor in these times of turmoil? Because I think these times of turmoil is where we grow the most and where we see our resilience. But we need those tools, like you say, to really come and look at, like, going, okay, where do I stop? How do I reconnect back to nature? How do I reconnect my body and my soul, my passion, my purpose, and my obligations, or whatever it might be? So I think that the big question is, yes, absolutely, I agree. And we choose our parents and we choose all of this conditioning. But how do we navigate that life? And what are the tools that are available to us to do that? Which is important.
Indeed, yes. I'm aware that David hasn't said much. ¿Quieres hablar algo, David?
Well, I was thinking about all of this unpacking of Natasha and how she reflected about the parenting styles and those things. And I am right now into going deep into my way of being, let's say, my shadows, my everything. And I'm taking also therapy, and yesterday that I took the session of therapy, something came up that made me reflect about these parenting styles and how they are intertwined and interlinked, and how, for example, for me, it's difficult to be in a vulnerable position. And I took an identity of hyper responsibility in my life due to my parents, that they have also a lot of chaos in my house. So I have to become responsible of many things. And this hyper responsibility sometimes gives me problems with my daughter, because I want to protect myself. And the only way I know how to be is have this identity of being hyper responsible for many people. But at the same time, I am dealing with another way of being from her mom, and it uncovers my personality. So I feel trapped, and that is reflected into anger in myself. So this trauma that we have, we inherited from our parents. We show it in our children. We pick our partners in a way that it reflects to us how many things we have inside. And once we, let's say, take off the masks, take off the layers, take off all this protection, you become completely vulnerable. And that's when you feel that freedom of being yourself. So I think this is what is happening in a macro level for many people. We are dealing with too much things, too much layers, and many have the situation that they don't have time to reflect, to pause, let alone to have therapy or to find out what happened with them. So the only response is to be reactive. The only response is to become aggressive. And the only response is what we are seeing right now, these chaotic environments where we are provoking this turmoil, no?
Yes, yes, I guess it contributes, that kind of personal trauma contributes to the turmoil. In terms of trauma, it's generally accepted that there is a kind of world trauma, personal trauma, things that perhaps happened to you when you were in your developmental stage, and also intergeneration trauma. Mm-hmm. So that's a really important thing to bear in mind as well, the intergenerational trauma, because it does affect us in a way that perhaps we are not aware. It's only been more recent, relatively speaking, that we've started to hear about interrelational trauma. We've been aware of other types of trauma, the other two, but not so much the last one. So, and so currently, yes, we have the global trauma, which is, what's happening at a global level, kind of a risk or danger of a nuclear attack, wars, climate change. Added to climate change, the actual planet is going through its own process as well, apart from climate change. Mm-hmm. So that also, and then we have the societal trauma, to do with perhaps unemployment, lack of possibilities of jobs, fragmentation of society, a fragmentation of the community. I mentioned that at the beginning. The lack of the family, the nuclear family, which is so necessary in. And I'm not saying, if people divorce or separate, well, it's got to be done. However, children don't have to suffer because of that. Mm-hmm. And in general, so that kind of, that net what's expression, the safety net is kind of, it's not, it doesn't seem to be there, very much. Community, that sense of community. In some places a bit more than in others. So all of that is creating this trauma in terms of society. And then economic instability on top of that at a nation-wide level, even global, because wars create a certain instability as well. Displacement is the other, migration because of climate change and wars. I'm afraid that's not going to get any better. It's just a fact. And then you have, of course, what you were saying, David, the personal traumas that, for one reason or another, parents, we inherit from them, or other people, as we were growing up. So, and also the modern change as such, modern society, technology. How is technology adding to trauma? Is it adding to trauma or not? I would say in a way it is, because of the way that it's so fast. So fast, transmitting even the wrong message so fast to people. And in a matter of seconds, so many million people got the wrong message, So it does exacerbate that feeling of instability. So it's imperative that we anchor ourselves so that we can navigate these changes and this instability in these times. Yeah.
How does one anchor ourselves? Have you got any suggestions to anchoring ourselves, Lily?
Right. I was going to say, both of you might like to think of ways, how do you anchor yourselves, and then I can add to that. Otherwise, or do you want me to say? I can say, basically, meditation. Meditation. Yeah. It's just, even if you start by meditating 3 minutes a day, it's definitely really important, essential, in fact, especially if, like ourselves, we are we work in the healing professions, in the healing field. We have to meditate. Otherwise, it's just no good. We won't be able to do it. It will burn us, it won't be good. And I've done it, where during COVID, because the demand was so high. Or, Natasha, I'm also a trained yoga instructor, Kundalini Hatha, and so with meditation and breathing. So I was working 7 days a week, and I wasn't meditating enough. I wasn't putting enough time on myself, which is really important. That self-nurturing is essential, self-nurturing. So mindfulness, yoga, of course, I would say that. Breathing techniques, meditation, breathing techniques, yoga, Tai Chi, any of those, disciplines. Therapy, yes, it would help. Therapy. And we talked about the other day, Natasha, about Kundalini awakening.
Mm-hmm.
And that is done through the same channels, the same channels as in meditation, all the things I've just mentioned, because that is about developing resilience, developing self-awareness. And that anchors you in ways that nothing else can anchor you, because you get to know yourself as you are. Know what other people expect from you. Know what it was perhaps expected from you since you were a child.
Yeah.
David, you were talking about the role that you kind of took on upon yourself to do in your family. So that self-nurturing is going to mean that you get to know yourself, that self-knowledge, self-awareness. Excuse me, and that will give you strength and resilience. That self-knowledge, strength and resilience, which is, what we need to go forward with these changes in these uncertain times. A shift from the materialistic world, society that we were kind of, most of us in my generation, not so much, but still were brought up, to everything new, you throw away this and that, etc. Change your clothes, your wardrobe. As soon as you get bored, it's the throwaway society that used to be called I think in the 90s. To cultivating internal values, for the children. That's really, really important, growing up into this world that we are leaving for them. Internal values, self-regulation, of emotions as well. That's really key. And also something that is actually very, very important, and perhaps is not talked, in my view, not talked about enough. I would say an acknowledgement, and I made a note of this so that I will remember mentioning, is an acknowledgement that good and evil runs through the heart of every human being.
Mm-hmm.
Which goes, yes. And I remember hearing this many years ago when I was training in Kundalini Yoga, many years ago, about 20 years ago. And it shocked me because I was brought up a Catholic, and this concept that good and evil, it goes through everybody's heart. I thought, no, I don't have anything evil in me. Yeah, exactly, and but it's really important to acknowledge the presence of good and evil in all of us, because with that acknowledgement is also the acknowledgement that we choose with our habits, with our decisions, with our friends, which way we go. It doesn't mean that we're not going to make mistakes, but that is the basics, basically, where we start from. That basics has to be the foundation. And then, it's a little bit kind of clearer. The path is a little bit clearer, I feel. Once I had that clear in my head, it was, I don't want to say easier, but it was clearer, not so confusing. Right, this is, no, I don't want that. Even if it's, a tiny bit No, because from that, many other things can develop.
Mhm.
So, yeah, relationships, habits, and what did I say was decisions. Yeah.
I love how you put the part of the shadow and the part of the evil that we need to acknowledge, because on until the time that we let our defenses down and contemplate that part of ourselves that is this shadow part, and we recognize that we have certain behaviors that lead us to get stuck in that way of being, that's the only way we can heal that part, and we can understand where it comes from or how it was developed throughout our lives. And that's the only way to let let's say to untie the knot because we now have the tools, we now see what is happening, and we now recognize, well, yes, this is my worst version. And it appears when I have these interactions, or when I have these triggers, or when I remember certain things that happened to me. And recognizing that and having that awareness is the cues that you need to follow the path to get out from that evil side and enter into the good side, into the heal side, let's say.
Mhm.
And I think those, probably we can relate this to the title that we chose for this podcast, because these are the anchors. The
Yes.
anchor is recognizing the shadow. The anchor is recognizing that we have this part of evil, let's say, and
Yes.
witness that, and then find ways that are the nurturing ways to move into the cues and arrive to the place where you can be lighter, be freer, and just get in the state of stillness. No.
The yes, that self-reflection is really important, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Self-reflection, I think that's the proper word I want to use. Self-reflection, to develop that capacity and be able to question yourself in that way. Is this the right way? Is this good? And I remember myself, years ago, not wanting to use the word, and until not that far away, really, that far back, not wanting to use the word evil because I felt it had too much kind of church connotation, which, I don't align myself to any churches, really. Although I am very spiritual, I consider myself to be very spiritual, but I don't align myself to any particular church.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the reticence also in my part came from, not wanting to use the word good and evil. But I've come to realize that it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to do with any church or any religious leaning or at all. It's just in ourselves, good and evil. It goes through the heart of everybody. And in that capacity to self-reflect, to say, well, I haven't done a good thing there. It's not that easy sometimes because, I want to think I'm good. I want to think I'm good. I want to think, I'm this and that. So to actually have that self-honesty, sometimes it's not very easy, I have to admit. But it's precisely that we need to develop, to move forward in this anchoring.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with you in that sense, because most of us, even in kind of like offering the services that we do to help people, if you're still looking outside of you, like it's everybody else's fault. The world is, conspiring against you. Everything, it's all out there, and not taking that self-reflection and what is my responsibility in all of this? How do I find myself in the same situation again? I must be the common denominator in all of this. And I think that's where the real kind of like healing starts, is when we do start, why have I brought this situation to me? What am I to learn? What am I to release? What is coming up for me? And I also believe that everybody and everything is a mirror to us as well. So if we're seeing the evil in somebody else, there is an aspect of it, where it could be within us. Or do we have compassion enough to know that whatever that flavor of evil that is running through that person is based on circumstances and what they've experienced? In the sense that we look at, and that saying that hurt people, which is an understanding that there is a compassion, and that person's been through quite a bit of trauma and is a product of those circumstances. But I think on a space of taking responsibility for our words and our actions is where the real healing starts, where we can really start, like you say, anchoring the peace within the turmoil.
That's very, very interesting. Yes. The mirror is that good and evil runs through the heart body, and we hopefully we can work on being honest, sincere, have that develop, strengthen that capacity of self reflection. Which one is mine stuff, which one is the other person's. And what you mentioned, the compassion, I will add wisdom.
Yeah.
Two very important pillars, or two very important tools, if you like, in a toolbox for anchoring yourself in these troubled times, is to develop those two things, compassion and wisdom. Compassion alone is not enough, because it will burn you, as we were saying.
Yeah.
And so wisdom also is important. Wisdom to self-nurture as well, but also to perhaps to perhaps know what we were saying. What is mine? What is the other person's? And what's the way forward? When not to go forward, but to stay still.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's a long road, and the important thing is to have community, not to do it alone. For sure, is to have community is really, really important. Not by yourself, because by yourself, that's the other thing. But through wisdom, we realize that we need community. And we started with this, didn't we? About how even outside, away from, in the heavens, in cosmology, we see that everything is within, a kind of community, if you like. It's not one planet there by itself. It's a whole group of planets, the sun system, solar system, you name it. And I remember listening to somebody also a cosmologist, but I can't remember his name off the top of my head, saying that. Let's see if I can remember accurately. I remember the name in Spanish, but I can't remember the name in English. Magallan, I can't
Janet?
remember. Magellan. It was a system, I think it was a solar system, it was something like that, or a universe that kind of dried up, okay, that dried up. And it kind of floated off in space for, I don't know, thousands of years, who knows, I don't know, but I'm sure cosmologists know. Until it came in contact with our galaxy, the Milky Way. And when it came in contact with it, have you heard about it, David? When it came in contact with it, it started to defreeze. Can you get the message there? Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, it started to defreeze and create life again. It's amazing, isn't it? You see it there. You see it even. You see it in the soil also. It comes something that is supposedly dead comes in contact with life. In the case of here in the soil, with light, the sun, and it starts to create life again. So, we need this kind of integral community links, if you like, community relationships, community energy to bring forth life, to bring forth strength. By life, we can mean all sorts of things. In this, within this context, strength, resilience, wisdom, compassion.
And this is the way our body works, by the way. Every cell, every clock system that we have inside of us, every molecule that we have is working together with the others and helping each other, recycling, doing a lot of things. And just today in the morning, very early, I was seeing that the Nobel Prize of Chemistry and was given to three scientists, one based in Tokyo, in Japan, one based in Australia, and one based in the US. And they work together to develop a material, a new material that is created with inorganic and organic compounds. And what it does is that it has a space. This new material has a space. It's like a square that has let's say rooms inside of each of the squares. And inside of these rooms, this material, what it does is that it can absorb from the air compounds and create water.
Wow.
This material also absorbs toxic substances and it makes them not harmful for our health. So, and these scientists were explaining that how they come up with that idea is thinking that nature is always working together and is always working hand by hand, and each of the elements that this material has, we have it. So they were saying this material has carbon, this material has these inorganic ions that we have them, this material has oxygen that the air has it, the water has it, we have it, or we need it also. So it is just amazing how these things are coming together to understand that the more we collaborate with each other, the more we create these communities and expand, we become stronger and we become wiser, as you mentioned, because we can recognize other people wise, and we can recognize other people ideas, and we can recognize other people's contributions and respect them, you know?
Absolutely. Yes, yes. So we are back to the beginning and to the title, I suppose. In the beginning, that we all are one, really.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's a good anchor to have, that knowledge is a good anchor to have, to remind ourselves that in one way or another, we are all one. And that's our strength.
Yes.
Friendship, community, wisdom, and
Beautiful.
passion. And that's the way forward.
So
Sure.
how could you summarize or wrap up in, let's say, in a phrase or in a reflection,
Mhm.
what what we need as a society right now?
Um, Before we finish, I
Mhm.
can give the one word, etc. Before we finish, I would like to offer a practice.
Oh,
Okay,
of course, yes.
a practice that I would say kind of it's kind of you would feel how we all are one, and also would anchor you.
Okay.
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 Shall we do the practice first?
Yeah,
Or
let's do it.
okay, so you might need to gently close your eyes.
Okay.
So relax in your chair. And as you exhale, think of a place, a being, or an animal that has been with you your whole life. Something that's really kind of stayed with you in one way or another your whole life. Now imagine going around it, like circumnavigating around it. It could be anything, a mountain, a tree, a person, etc. Now imagine going underneath it. Now imagine going above it. Now imagine your consciousness sleeping, as in going into this other being, and this being looking back at you. And in this moment, you are no longer looking at it. You are being one. You are one. You are one with it, looking back at you. Feel that the thickness of the space between the two of you, how alive it becomes. when you become the other looking back at you. Then slip back into your own consciousness and offer your gratitude to what you just witnessed and to what just witnessed you. When you're ready, feel your body in the room where you are, seated where you are seated, and feel your hands, your feet. You can move them one way or another, and when you're ready, open your eyes.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, it was beautiful.
It is, actually. I love it. I don't practice it enough sometimes. You can practice it anytime, as long as you are in a safe place to close your eyes, etc.
Yeah.
So, what you asked me, David, if I could, one word for what was the question? One word for?
In a phrase or in a reflection, just to give us something that you think that can help society to become more healed, let's say.
Ooh, well, the whole of what we just talked about. I would say, yes. Introspection.
Yeah.
One keyword. Yes.
Beautiful. It's a powerful word. And it's not for the meek.
Yeah.
No. That's beautiful. How do people get a hold of you, Lily? And how can you support them?
Okay, well, it would be my honor and privilege to be able to support people through hypnotherapy. I'm a qualified clinical counselor hypnotherapist. And so I have an Instagram account and also a WhatsApp business account. So shall I give you my WhatsApp business account, or is there a place where to write it?
We are going to put it in the comments, in the caption, so that people can contact you. Yes.
Yes, that would be better, really. Yes, because number. Yes, I mean, in terms of hypnotherapy, also it will be written down in the captions, as you say. So that is the best way. Yeah.
Okay.
Either through Instagram or through WhatsApp. That's fine.
Perfect.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Lily. It was a real pleasure to understand how we are intertwined and understanding this trauma that we are living in, but that we can untie these kind of patterns.
For sure, yes, and that's we have certainly that hope to go to the future in that way. Thank you, really, from my heart. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
And that brings us to the end of this. If you have any topics that you'd like us to discuss, please add that into the comments. We're happy to discuss the various topics. And if you feel that you would want to be a guest on our show as well, we very much welcome you as well. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Lily. Thank you, David.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Natasha. Thank you, Lily.
Everybody.
Thank you, everyone. And follow us. We are the Conscious Health Podcast. You can find us in YouTube, in Apple, and in Spotify, and you can give us a rating and, of course, share this wisdom. Thank you.